It's time for week 12, but first we want to look back at week 11 a little bit and run through some takeaways from week 11. What do you got?
So first of all, it is absolutely over for these players. Ramondre Stevenson, Xavier Worthy, Geno Smith, Rachaad White. Just absolute door-closing performances, I think, in week 11. We'll start with Ramondre. If the week before was the Henderson game we were always waiting for, this week launched him into darling status. It's going to be really hard to look back once Ramondre returns healthy after a 3 TD performance and 4 straight games of 75-plus yards or more for Travion Henderson. This week, we project Ramondre for 6.8 PPR points compared to 14.9 by Henderson. One of the quickest changing of the guards I think we've seen in a backfield, actually reflected in the Dimers projections on a quick turnaround. Like, I'm not going to drop Ramondre if you have him in fantasy. You never know what happens. You don't want to be dropping a guy who's still part of a committee, in theory anyway. And you never know if there's an injury. He could, to Henderson, he'll immediately become relevant again. But I'm not betting on him unless there's, like I just said, a can't miss opportunity. He's just going to be taking a backseat, and it's the Henderson show from here on out in New England. Geno Smith, surely in a game that the Raiders simply did not run the ball, Geno Smith dominated the Cowboys defense, carved them up, and produced multiple 100-yard receivers. None of that happened. Nope, he got 238 yards, 1 TD, 1 pick. This was always a bad fit in Vegas. It should have been Jameis, instead of Geno for this, because you're basically getting the same upside and at least a more entertaining floor if the same floor is 0. But
on that note, how fun was it to see Jameis again? Like, it was a great week, but they moved the ball. He had some big plays. I loved every second of it.
Yeah, and something the Raiders could really do is moving the ball with a guy who will just chuck the ball downfield without a care in the world. But Geno Smith doesn't do that. Jameis does. Got a $7 million cap hit next year. So good luck, Mark Davis, with this. Only Dylan Gabriel and Cam Ward project lower for worse weeks in the Dimers model. So Geno Smith, it was nice, but see ya.
I have a Jameis theory here that I want to run by you, and it's total conspiracy G again, but I think I figured him out finally. He's too good to be a tanking organization's quarterback. That's all it is. So, like, all these teams that have really middling, horrible quarterbacks, it's because they want to have horrible quarterbacks for a year. He's like the perfect backup on a contender, but at the same time, real contenders want someone a little more trustworthy than Jameis to be their backup. So it leaves him in this weird spot where, like, he's clearly a top 32 talent on earth, but there isn't a perfect fit. And I don't know what to do with New York. They probably should tank now. I think Jameis is a little too good to drive them off the cliff, but maybe they just want to give their fans something to be happy about with all of these injuries. And Jameis can serve that role.
Yeah. The Geno Smith New York Jets reunion is inevitable at this point. Xavier Worthy, you are not worthy, actually. You are not doing anything as far as wide receiver 2 numbers. I dropped him in one league with roster crunch. Wasn't even that tough of a decision. After his injury, he didn't seize the opportunity with Rice still out for several games, 3 catches or fewer in 4 of his past 5, since hasn't scored a touchdown since his lone touchdown in week 6. It's under 30 yards in 3 of these games recently. It's crazy. They sorely need him to produce, as the Chiefs constantly, they're showing the potential, but it's unreached because they just do not have the weapons to seemingly unlock the tier of Patrick Mahomes that we're used to seeing this year. And Xavier Worthy, I would not be starting him. I would not be betting on him. Would pretty much just stay away in all facets. And topically, key waiver wire pickup last week contributed to this, but Rachaad White, your time in Tampa Bay is over as a viable fantasy or betting asset. Bucky Irving may be back this week. Sean Tucker just dropped 3 touchdowns and over 100 yards, under 40 rushing yards in 3 of his past 4 games. That's Rachaad White. Sorry, not Sean Tucker. Only 4.6 PPR points projected for Rachaad White in our early projections. If you have him in fantasy, I would be very, very cautious about starting him. If you have been deploying him as a key running back asset, it's just not looking too good on the horizon for this crop of fellows.
Sean Tucker's good. I know we very briefly touched on it earlier last week, but I just, if Bucky is back, I won't be surprised to see Sean Tucker completely overtake Rashad. I know Rashad can do some stuff in the pass game, but Tucker looks the part of like a legitimate running back in this league. So something to keep an eye on. Hopefully you got some value out of Rashad in previous weeks. I think you're right to call that one over. Let's talk injuries. It's not fun, but it feels like this is the story of the NFL at this point in the season every single year. We saw plenty of guys go down this week, most notably Josh Jacobs. Left in the second quarter, never returned. Early reports are saying the injury isn't season ending, but it's going to be at least an extended time missed here, probably multiple games, possibly a month. This is pretty significant because it's Josh Jacobs. He rarely ever misses time due to injury, which to me, he's one of the toughest guys in this whole league. If he is out for weeks and we're not really even floating the possibility he could play through it, probably a real concern.
Yeah, the MetLife turf monster rises up and rears its ugly head again. This time, a contusion, not a torn ACL, I guess, but still enough to knock him out of the remainder of the game. Not even the only injury they took in that game. Jordan Love got banged up with a shoulder injury. Watched Malik Willis run a touchdown drive, so I guess it wasn't all bad there. But this isn't good for the Packers. They're struggling a ton on offense. He's been their lone stabilizing piece, pretty much the only guy who's consistently moving the ball for them. You do have a rare 1-for-1 replacement, at least as far as like a fantasy starter goes, with Emmanuel Wilson, but he's not Josh Jacobs. I don't think they're going to 1-for-1 replace his production. However, there's basically no one behind him on the depth chart. Chris Brooks has 3 carries this year. That's literally it for a running back behind Jacobs and Wilson. 11 carries, 40 yards, and a TD for him in relief of Josh Jacobs on Sunday. I'll talk about him a little bit more when we get to the fantasy waiver wire, but yeah, he's going to be a top ad. So even if it's just a couple weeks rental, Falcons also won with 2 major injuries, including quarterback and their top wide receiver, Drake London. He's already been ruled out for week 12, possibly longer. They lost Penix in this game as well. I believe the same knee injury aggravated that he had earlier this season. So now you're going to be starting Kirk Cousins without his top target. I mean, further this, I don't know how much more like useless he could be. I don't even mean that to be like negative, or like insulting, but he was 21 for 13 of 21, I think, 173 yards in the Dolphins blowout. Like, just did not get anything going. 6 for 14 for 48 yards in relief this Sunday. Kyle Pitts is doing okay. Doesn't look like the total bust that he has in the past, but he doesn't get any separation. Darnell Mooney hasn't done anything all year. Maybe Bijan Robinson benefits here, but he's constantly being vultured by Tyler Algier, including this past week. And now the defense is just going to have to sell out to stop Bijan because they're not going to be afraid of anything else in this offense. So pretty tough go here for the Falcons, who we talked about last week as their season probably already being over, and now it is.
Yeah, I feel bad for Falcons fans because there was a lot of reason for real optimism, I think, coming into this season. Penix looked like a legitimate guy, and he still might be. But, Drake London's had some pretty amazing performances this year. To see this potentially be it for him, or at least for a couple weeks, is frustrating, to say the least, for fantasy owners and just people that like watching good football. Kirk is long past the point of, I think, retirement, to be honest. I like Kirk Cousins. That was my quarterback in college back at Michigan State all the way back in the day. But he just, the fact that he's made it this far in his career is a testament to him. When Minnesota said, no, give us Sam Darnold, that was probably the moment we could have moved on from this. And I feel bad because to me, I feel like I'm going to be looking to fade Atlanta in various ways. I probably wouldn't touch any part of this offense from a fantasy perspective. Maybe you'll feel differently later in the show. But for me, this is like a circle ways to bet against them team right now.
Yeah, pretty much. I think the only thing I would be looking at really is like Tyler Algier, because he's probably going to become even more of a vulture if they happen to get close enough to be scoring like that. Aren't you going to treat Bijan with, paper gloves, whatever the phrase is, with the season basically lost. I mean, the guy's the most valuable asset on this team. You have to be careful when you're playing these meaningless games.
Yeah, from one very old quarterback to another. Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah,
I had to get that segue in. I was so excited.
Of course.
Possible wrist fracture. Poor 12. Poor Aaron Rodgers. Then you've also got Jaylen Warren, who one of the vaguest injuries in the league right now. He's claiming that it's minor, but there's not really any real specifics anywhere on this. So what do we do with the Steelers duo?
You kind of got to wait and see, honestly. I mean, I think the thing with Rodgers is it's his left hand, so it's his non-throwing hand. So I guess it's not directly going to impact like his throwing ability, but you still got to take a snap. You still might have to push a guy off of you with that left arm, so it's not great if it's actually broken. Good matchup here with the Bears, so the two of them being available is pretty huge for the Steelers. Chicago's like very pass vulnerable and allowing over 5 yards per carry on the ground. So Warren was in a smash spot. If he's healthy, you're good to go. Fire him up. But if he's limited or out, Kenneth Gainwell is going to be in a really good spot here. Again, I'm going to talk about him more in the waiver wire, so I won't talk it to death here. But he's produced well in Warren's previous absences. Really good PPR volume, lots of receptions and targets. So look for Gainwell to maybe have a, pushing maybe a season best game this week if Warren is completely out. As far as the passing game, I think you just got to wait and see what the deal is with Rodgers in this. I'm desperately hoping Jackson Dart is back from concussion protocol. Otherwise, I will be firing up Aaron Rodgers in the league that I had to pick him up in this past week, and I really don't want to do that. So please.
Yeah, please is right. Steelers are a team that just I've lost interest in. I'm sorry. Again, maybe it's just the old quarterback syndrome in me, but as feisty as they have been at times this year, they can go into some very offensive dry spell periods, and that's when they're fully healthy, let alone when both Warren and Rodgers are trying to play through injuries. So something to monitor.
Team.
Yeah, something to monitor for sure from a team that really came out the gates extremely hot. That division is anyone's guess right now. I don't know what to do with it. Lastly, you've got a Super Bowl theory here. You want to explain this one to me?
Yeah, I mean, it just looks like the Rams and Patriots are heading towards a Super Bowl featuring Mike Vrabel, proof that time is a flat circle. As always, we don't have our NFL futures update yet. It'll be probably on site later today when we finish processing the week that was. But the eye test says these teams are heading for a collision course in February. Pats are clicking all around. I said this last week that their schedule leaves a lot to be desired. Have beaten one singular division leader. That was the Bucks, who are now looking a little shaky, but they keep winning. The defense is so good. And I just what else can you say about the Rams? They've beaten top contenders all season long. A freak play away from beating the Eagles. Absolute wagon. Plus 2,700 on FanDuel is worth a nice little pizza money head-to-head matchup for me. And if you think you have the edge on who's going to win, you'll get even better odds picking the exact result. So just looks like it's on a pretty much collision course, like I said. And it's just kind of funny to me that we're coming full circle here with Patriots, Vrabel, and the Super Bowl and stuff like that.
Yeah. Do you believe in destiny? I guess we'll have to wait and see. The league's in a weird spot, man. NFL is still, don't get me wrong, it's a great product. It's fun to bet on. We've been making money on it with the model this year. But after that Broncos win, Bo Nix said, yeah, give them credit. They played us really tough. He's talking about Patrick Mahomes. That's Bo Nix giving Patrick Mahomes credit for playing them tough. It is just a wide open season. Like these teams are supposed to be dominant. We talked about it with Josh Allen and the Bills. They're vulnerable. The Chiefs are not the Chiefs this year. The Ravens have been dead all season long. It's kind of anyone's game. And yeah, the Pats are right in the mix. Maybe we should be looking closer at the Rams, to be honest with you, because they've been dominant and they've done it before. Matthew Stafford has led them to the peak of this sport before. So that has my attention. But I think you're onto something. There's going to be somebody that's going to feel shocking in the Super Bowl this year. And if you can pinpoint it, we'll give you credit for that. 27-1 is pretty tasty to me.